Welcome, Sandman Nation. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the St. Louis Syndicate, and we are here with playoff week. Man, it's college playoffs, Brandon. It's the NFL. We got crazy stuff going on. How are your picks last
So
week?
excited. They didn't do horrible. I got screwed on the Chicago thing, or I would have been in a great spot.
Yeah.
I, for whatever reason, thought that even with Detroit trying, which they were obviously going to do,
Yeah.
that Chicago was good enough. They could cover the 2.5. We were locked in at 2.5. I went, oh, that's perfect. And then they just couldn't get it over the hump. They got so close. They were right there. And then Detroit just ran away with it. So, the rest of them went pretty good.
Yeah.
How did yours end up working out?
I did okay. Overall for the week, the picks lined out. I made some ground up on both of our pools, which is important. Made a few side bets and hit those. And the AFC North panned out exactly as I thought they would. The dogs covered as they usually do.
Well, yeah. No, that's for
So
sure.
two AFC coaches have been fired. So now, I don't know if that's going to screw me up for next year or not, but as I say, I'm sick of these AFC teams and these AFC North teams not covering 3.5.
I think it's in their bones. I don't know that it's a coaching thing. I think it's just intrinsic. That Sunday night game was wild.
Yeah.
Because it was just, look, there's so much pedigree behind what Baltimore should be able to do. And, when you take Metcalf off the field, you just go, how is this going to work? And then it's just Rodgers just going, you wide receiver, do this. You do that. Here, you
I feel like that's
tell
what he was
him
doing.
to do that.
He was
Literally like, you could watch him on the game, just like pointing at wide receivers. At one point, I think he pointed at, was it Thielen? And like told him to tell the outside guy something. And was like, here, you tell him that. And then hike the ball. Like, he was traffic copying the whole thing. And look, it just worked out. Like, it's crazy. If their defensive backs don't run into each other, they probably end up winning the game, right?
Yeah.
Maybe Rodgers still figures it out, but like, I don't know. Now they get to play another home game. Houston's got to come out there. Doesn't have a ton of offense.
No.
And defense might spend the entire day just throwing Rodgers through the earth, but like, if he gets a couple of lucky throws, I don't know. We'll get to it when we go through the games, but like, that was an exciting game to then go in and have them be the Monday night game the next week and go, hey, we're going to close this out with another crazy Pittsburgh game, week 1 of the playoffs too. So everybody, start drinking now.
It's going to be awesome, man. I love it. I'm fired up for it. I mean, this playoff football is amazing. But we got playoff college football first.
Yes.
So we had some big games this week, none bigger than the statement made by Indiana. What are you thinking about this?
That was
Indiana just statement bashing on the SEC there.
Yeah, that was a impressive beating. When I went out and went like, hey, let me go ahead and take the points with Bama early in the week when it was at 7.5.
Yeah.
Luckily, when we got around to Thursday, our Sandman pools were locked in at 6.5. So I went ahead and grabbed that. And that was a lucky vision by me to go, well, we're on the good side of 7. So let me go ahead and grab that. And so luckily it wasn't too stressful to watch them just dog walk Bama all over the field. But that next game was exciting to have Ole Miss and Georgia just throw haymakers in each other.
That was a crazy game, man. I really personally felt that Ole Miss had run its course, right? I kind of felt they had a Kiffin thing. We talked about it the week before. They got to beat down at Tulane. And now I'm sitting here staring at them going, are they that good yet in a 10 seed Miami? We got a 5, a 6, and a 10 in this thing. I mean, that's some low seeds.
Uh-huh.
And Man,
Yeah, we kind of had that conversation about last year,
yeah,
the teams that got the buys, and it was kind of flipped, and they all got trucked.
yeah,
And we went, well, we kind of fixed which teams got the buys this time, and now there just has to be a lot of conversation about, does there need to be more of an adjustment to the lines
yeah,
if you're gonna sit for 3 weeks? Like, are these people coming out flat? Is it just something else? Is this just, randomness? But to go, hey, 3 of the 4 are going to be upsets. Um, and some of them just, I mean, Oregon, Texas Tech, whatever billionaire is spending I had to have been just throwing bottles of Johnny Walker Blue through the walls at his mansion. Like, I can't imagine just watching that game and going, you got to be kidding me. I spent how many millions of dollars on this? And Oregon just comes down here and just holds them down and gives them wet willies for an hour. Like, I they couldn't do anything. Man, what a beating. Yeah, and the Miami thing was crazy too. Like,
yeah. I just, I'm hard pressed not to think Miami's not going to beat Ole Miss. I'm really struggling with this one.
I am as well. Because it really, it's both teams going, all right, you guys had enough?
Yeah,
Like, you guys are both not, not world beaters. And now we got 2 teams that a lot of people didn't particularly believe in last week, and both got through. And now they got to go, you, me? Like, who's coming through on this?
right.
So it's
One of them.
definitely it's gonna be an exciting 2 days of games. Do you
If
have
we just if we just started the season, Brandon, and I said you get one team from the SEC in the top 4, which one's it going to be? How many guesses
I
would it have taken you to get to Ole Miss?
it would have taken 10 or 12. Like, I just
It would have taken 10 or 12.
look, I'm a homer. I'd have got to Mizzou before I got to Ole Miss.
Yeah, and Vanderbilt probably.
I mean, hell, with the way that Fabio was peacocking around the last 18 months, like, yeah, I just look, I get it. There's a certain belief in Kiffin that he's won a lot of games. He hasn't won any championships yet, and still isn't going to get credit in anybody's eyes if this one
None.
keeps going
None.
and
What a
they get the
fool,
win.
man.
But it's one of those things where you go, hey, the guy does win a lot of games, and he gets good players to come,
Has a good staff.
and somebody picked out Chambliss from FCS and went, come on up here. And, he turned into untackleable. I mean, Georgia should have won that game 3 different times.
Yeah.
He was uncatchable. He just would wiggle away and just find the open guy. So I don't know. It's an interesting thing because I think, when we made our legends picks,
Mm-hmm.
I think I ended up on the side of taking the points with Ole Miss.
Mm-hmm.
But after watching what Miami did to Ohio State, I just go, I don't know enough about the lines play to go, this is why this is working, and maybe it won't work against Ole Miss. It just looks like they just smother people.
Yeah.
So we may just get another poked up Michael Irvin taking his belt off after the game and whipping a Gatorade tub or whatever he had. That I don't know if he's going to live through a national title game if they win again. He might.
I'm not sure either. There's going to be somebody.
He might stroke out on the field. Somebody needs to get him a heart appointment between this week and the 19th if they win.
He's not young. He's not a young guy.
No. And he has done a lot of things that, make the inside of your body older over time. So, I think somebody stop him and go, hey, we're going to put you up in a box for like the national title game or something. Maybe you can calm down a little bit.
Oh, no, there's no way.
We'll see how that goes.
No way. Yes.
He's like having a real life mascot for a team.
That's fantastic. And that's probably the best description of the Miami Hurricanes anyway, is a coked up Irvin as their mascot on the sideline.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the U was known for,
Yeah.
right? Like that's that Miami way of life. So, they're out there, they're doing it. And I
Well,
I
and
don't have any
Cristobal believed
argument.
in it. Cristobal was part of that. So, you
Yeah.
know, it's like he has done what he said he would do, is resurrect the U from that perspective. I keep thinking
Yeah.
he can keep players away. After watching this defense the last 2 weeks, though, I, I find it difficult to believe that that defense and a Carson Beck led offense, God forbid Carson Beck, but he's not scared of Ole Miss. He's
Well,
been
he
in that
surely isn't.
dogfight.
I don't know that he's afraid of any. I don't know that he's got a whole lot going on behind his eyes. Every
No,
time that was most of the reason I didn't believe in Miami. I
me
picked
too,
them to beat Texas A&M, and oh, I'd have to go back and look last week. I can't remember. I think I laid the points with Ohio State, but I just go like Carson Beck's eventually going to screw this up, right?
for sure.
But so far, not so much.
I
So
keep thinking the same thing.
I'm fascinated. Like again, you can't take much from me on these top college games because I tend to just go, hey, give me the points until a team seems ridiculously dominant, and then I'll go ahead and lay them. But, you know, the other one, Friday night, you just
Oh,
go, I don't know what you do with Indiana. But when my brain starts doing that, I go, they're probably going to lose then. Now that I've come all the way around on them
yeah.
and went, no, let me go ahead and lay the points. I just go, does that mean Oregon's going to go in there and just whip them? I'm completely confused by the cadence of how these games are playing out at this.
I don't know if it matters, but I did read something about Oregon this week that I'm going to share with our listeners, and they have to do their
Perfect.
own research. But Oregon lost its number one running back with a broken collarbone this week, and their number two
Oh,
and three running backs have already entered the portal. So, like, they're down to like running backs 4 and 5 on the roster. Now, that being
interesting.
said, they're Oregon. 4 and 5 running backs might be really good. And, it's not hard for a freshman running back to have an outstanding game. So take it with a grain of salt. But the guy that's been carrying the rock for him all season is out. I don't know if
Yeah,
that means
yeah,
anything or not.
that is an interesting point. And look, for me, on the Legends picks, it got locked in at -3.5. I went ahead and laid it with Indiana. I
I
took
did
the three
too.
and a half with Ole Miss and just went, I I think this is how this works out. But I really that Friday game feels like the first quarter is going to tell us everything about
Yeah.
how this is going to work.
Yeah. I agreed.
The Ole Miss Miami game, that one might come right down to the wire. Like yeah, that'll be very interesting.
Yep, agreed. So I'm on Miami and Indiana. It sounds like you've got Indiana and Ole Miss. It'll be interesting to watch,
Yeah.
and nothing else. It'll be fun to have a few bets on a Thursday and a Friday night before we head into Saturday. Saturday, Brandon. When we head to Saturday, look what it is. It's the playoffs.
Yeah.
Playoffs. Um, this is
Culmination of everything we've been working towards.
this is where we're at. So instead of our Power Five or our dog trash chart that we have out there about all the crappy teams. Brandon, we've got the AFC and the NFC, the 7 teams that are there, and you and I have ranked them worst to first. So if
Yep.
all things worked out according to plan, the AFC and NFC championship game should probably be our 1-2, 1-2. So we'll see how this plays out.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
some of that's
I
probably
had
not going to work because of the way the seating goes, but
well, and for me, I tried to just list this as the team. You're on a neutral field. Here's try to separate the team from the potential matchups, playing home or playing away, and just go, hey, here's how I think they should perform. So, we'll see. We do these, and then we'll go over to talk about the games, and we'll see how well my picks line up with the way that I've ordered these here. This will be an interesting
This
little
will be good. All
walkthrough
right.
here. Yeah.
So, Brandon, you're the top. I'm the bottom. Our 7 picks are for you. It is the Broncos
Yeah.
and the Panthers. For me, it is the Panthers and the Steelers. I've got these arrows here pointing both ways. You're actually you're actually on the left, I'm on the right.
Okay.
You're
Perfect.
on the left, I'm on the right. So
Yes.
for all of you listeners out there, Brandon's on the left, I'm on the right, and that's how it is. So the Broncos at 7. I've got the Steelers at 7 in the AFC. I think legitimately the way that looks is pretty fair. The Steelers for me are definitely the 7th best team of what's out there. And we both tend to agree that the Panthers are probably not quite the class of the NFC. That
Now,
would have been the Bucks or the Panthers regardless, probably.
yeah, I think, depending on what the health looked of the Bucks, there's a world where maybe I slide them ahead of Green Bay or Chicago, something like that. But Carolina just they don't have the firepower.
No,
Like
not in the
they
playoffs.
can win a dirty game, but I think when you get to the playoffs and you're playing no flat spots, it makes it real hard to catch somebody screwing around
Yeah.
and beat them. So we'll see how that pans out.
All right. Moving on to our 6th pick. You have the Steelers right at 6, so we're not too far
Yeah.
off. I've got the Chargers hanging
No.
out in the 6 hole. You have the Eagles in the 6 hole. Once again, never a fan of the Eagles. And
No.
I've got the what I like to think of as the kind of decimated Packers over in the 6 hole. I just don't think the
Yeah.
Packers right now are coming into the playoffs in the right mindset, the right frame of mind, the right mental state. And yeah, they've had some wins but they've been a little beat up, and maybe I'm wrong, right? Maybe they've all taken their time off and maybe they've healed up and they're going to come out on fire, but man, it's really hard to face a division foe for the 3rd time right off the bat.
Yeah. No, without a doubt. Like that definitely. Yeah. I don't like what Philly's trying to do. Or I'll put it this way. I don't respect what they're trying to do. I'll tell you that much. Like, and maybe it works, but when you go, hey, we're not really going to play offense. I just go, okay, well then especially when you have weapons. It's one thing
Yeah.
when we had, Trent Dilfer's Baltimore and you're going, oh, this is the best he can do. You're like, all right, we'll let the defense go ham. But when you got Philly and you just go, oh yeah, you guys have weapons, right? You have Saquon, Devonta, AJ. You go, why don't you guys throw the ball around a little bit? And they just go like, no, I don't think we're gonna be able to do it. And so I'm forced to just go, I'm putting you down there at the bottom because I don't trust that you should beat anybody but Carolina, really, when it comes down to it.
Yeah, fair enough. I like the thought
Yeah.
process. I can see it. I can see it. I disagree a little bit, but we're going to get to the disagreement
Yeah.
when we see the Eagles show up on my play. Our next path, right? Okay, we both have the Bills hanging out in the 5 hole. And that's the first time we've actually matched. And then
Yeah.
I have San Francisco hanging out in 5, and you have Green Bay in 5. So I feel in the NFC, that's not too terribly off. In the AFC, it's probably spot on for the Bills, who just are not very trustworthy. I do think that if the Bills play the Chargers or the Steelers, they're going to win. I have the feeling you feel the same way if they played the Broncos or the Steelers, they would probably win. Though I'm going to argue with you on the Broncos a little bit, but we'll wait a few more picks.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. I think it's gonna be hard for Allen to put his cape on with his busted up foot. It really seems like that team lives and dies with his ability to be Superman. And if he can't move around effectively, I don't know that they have another avenue to, get by most of these teams.
Yeah, it makes me wonder. I mean, and I've watched some of their games, but I haven't studied their games. I don't know if you have. I know you watch a lot of replays. I try to watch
Yeah,
some, but is the O-line just that sus? Is that where the problem lies? Because they have a good running back in Cook. And it just doesn't seem like they
yeah,
can get any running game established anymore without Allen doing it.
yeah. No, I mean, I think, not being an expert on O lines, it seems across the board, once you watch them play all of the games and you go, you seem to have the same kind of problems almost every week. And it's just
Yeah.
whether Allen can work around it or not, whether they win or not, that I go, like, okay, I don't know if it's that your offensive line is bad or it's a bad game plan or they're not playing well together, but we're leading to a lot of guys in Allen's face way more than they should be. So, if you're not getting the horsepower to the ground at the very least from an offensive line standpoint.
Oh, I agree completely on that. The other thing here that you'll notice, and we can talk about it more when they show up on your list, but San Francisco failed me a little bit, and I'm worried they're not as powerful as my brain wants them to be. I've heard a lot of the talking heads. I've heard even us talk about it. They're a little sus in some areas. They've had some defensive injuries, and it really showed up last week. And now I'm questioning them overall, and so I've got them right down in the five hole.
Yeah. I mean, it's either that or the Rams in Seattle are about to go whip the shit out of everybody.
Yeah.
Because we watched those two teams play and they played right down to the wire. And then San Francisco came to town and Seattle just it did just not it's not like they put up a bunch of points or anything, but you take that offense that just scored 40 against Chicago and hold them to 3. Unfortunately, I didn't get to watch that game live. So watching it on replay sometimes makes it look a little weird when you're watching it sped up like that. But it just seems like they couldn't get anything started. So I am very, to me, because of where I put Philly, not so bad about this week, but whoever they got to play next, if
Hmm.
they get through Philly, they are in a weird spot unless
Yes.
they really get the offense humming this week.
I think bringing up the point about Chicago's defense is also viable here.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the one susceptible point. If we bounce forward, you and I both have Chicago in the four hole, and this could be arguably a tough week for Chicago with the Packers, right? You've got them at 4-5. I know I've got the Packers at 6, but if Chicago's defense is weak and Jordan Love comes back and is healthy and they're running around doing some things that, a couple of weeks off have helped them refresh, Bears might be in trouble defensively. Bears can play offense with just about anybody at this point, but they can't stop a runny nose.
Yeah. It's a very interesting when we get to the breaking down the games, I went back and I rewound my rankings for week 17 and week 16 so I
Uh-huh.
could see kind of how it worked, how it's changed over the last 2 weeks.
Hmm.
That for some teams were still very important, but for some teams, not so much to see, hey, what kind of noise do we have? And it gets kind of interesting with Chicago and Green Bay if you roll it back to week 17 and then week 16 and go, hey, if we kind of call those 2 weeks, whatever, what do these two teams look like when they were like theoretically going full bore?
Yeah,
So that'll be interesting to kind of look through.
yeah. No, I agree. The noise has always caused problems for handicapping the last 2 weeks of the season.
Yeah.
That stuff should balance out heading into wild card week, but sometimes it causes that false belief system that we start seeing. That's why I really try to only judge when games matter and two teams are playing against each other where it matters.
That's a good point.
Um, it's I do okay with that strategy betting wise. It does make for some difficult games at times. Heading into the three hole, we've got the Patriots for you and the Texans for me. Both very fair places for them to land.
So,
Any assessment there for sure as to why you love the Patriots in the three hole?
well, I'm torn, right? Because I've rode them betting all week or all year. And you get down to the end here and you start going, who'd they really play? What was their strength of schedule? Now, obviously, Pats fans are like sticking up your ass. We're not hearing that. But the reality is that they still have a lot of big play potential,
Yeah.
and that plays in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, do I have two teams ahead of them? Sure. But if they don't have that rookie quarterback, second year, first time quarterback making it to the playoffs, sort of misstep, then they can be real dangerous, I
Yeah.
think. So yeah, I had to move them down a little bit, but I'm still very closely watching where the numbers kind of move around here these last couple of days to see what the best number is that we can maybe get on this.
Yeah. And to be fair, numbers and what we're doing right now are completely different things.
Oh, it's true.
Because
Absolutely.
this is a little bit more of a ranking thing, but at the same time, it's kind of who we think are the best available. I do think it's interesting to point out that you did have the Broncos at a 7 and I had them at a 4. I don't know what the distrust there is on your part because the Broncos defense plays well. And in the playoffs, defense show up. And
They do.
I'm not convinced that Bo Nix is as bad as everybody wants to make him out to be. Um, Eerily similar to when Tim Tebow was playing, everybody wanted to say he was terrible. And I mean, he just kind of won a little bit and won a playoff game. And
Uh-huh.
I just feel like he got ran out of town because they didn't think he was your typical quarterback. Like, I don't want to bring race relations into this at all, but for a long time, everybody was like, hey, it's a black quarterback. You can't do it. And we know that's not true. It
Right.
was like they like labeled Tebow that same way, like, he just can't do it. He just doesn't have the skill sets. And I'm going, "Man, I don't know if that was really true. Now, he wasn't great, but he did okay in
No.
Denver when he had the
And
right
once they
situation.
figured out, what his thing was, they were able to stymie him,
Yeah.
but my thing with Denver is just looking at it and going, look, the upside to Denver is that they're going to get to play at home. You're going to come to
Mhm.
me. It's going to be cold. We're going to be up in the mountains. Have fun with that. The thing that it
'Cause
watching,
Denver's the number 1 seed, right?
yeah,
Have we
yeah.
ever had a number 1 seed ranked 7th in a poll?
I don't know. I haven't done a ton of these, but I kind of went top down. I was looking at this today and kind of ordering them, and I kind of was looking at my rankings and just kind of working from one down and just
Yeah.
going like, okay, who's left? Who do I like more? And to a certain extent, when we got down there, I probably the difference of 5, 6, and 7 is real tight.
Yeah.
But I think the if the Chargers play well enough to beat New England, then they're in a position to play well enough to beat Denver.
Mhm.
And so I think it kind of resolves some of those questions in my head that I go, I that defense is good, but then they give up points randomly. When you just go every week, it seems like they go, I'm going to put up just enough points to win this game. And I don't know if that's viable when you get to the playoffs.
You
I
are
think
a
you got to try to.
scorned gambler. You're a scorned gambler on Denver.
Well, yeah. I think that is what it comes down to. Is that I come into the season going, come on, Denver. Yeah, it's a good defense. Even if Knicks is good, they don't really have the traditional kind of weapons that you would go like, hey, let's put, you know, I guess Tampa. If you put a young guy with all those wide receivers and they were healthy, you go, sure, I think you'll be able to figure it out. Or you
Yeah.
put somebody in Cincinnati if they had a better offensive line and go, oh, they got Chase and they got Higgins. Hey, you just got to get them the ball. Like your offensive line is going to protect you well enough. You're going to figure it out. I just go, the weapons they have after watching 17 games of it, if you can't go into Denver and go, here's a way to deal with this offense, well, that's kind of on your coaches, man. Like, there's got to be a path through here. So as I lined it out, they just kind of kept falling down the list. And the reality is, if you go back week 16,
Yeah.
the only team that I had ranked lower than them is Buffalo.
Hmm.
So, when it comes down to it, I just go, okay. And, I got a little bit more respect for Allen, even on a bum foot. And
Yep.
I move him up a little bit and just go, okay. And so that's kind of how I backed into it.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I think it's very fair. Um, you kind of talked a little San Francisco on your side. Over on my side, I do have Houston sitting in a 3 hole. That's a lot of their defense giving them that respect. I'm not sure I love CJ Stroud and his offense. I'm not sure I trust Houston either. There's a little bit of that gambler score in there. They burned me a little bit the last few weeks,
Sure.
not knowing which side of the game to be on. But I think from a game perspective, they match up well. And actually, if you look at all the teams in the AFC, outside of maybe Pittsburgh, in my opinion, I think literally the phrase any given Sunday actually counts.
I think
Because
it's
I don't
fair.
see anybody in here just whipping the other 9 out of 10 times. I mean, I literally think if each one of these teams played each other 10 times, there could be like a 6-4 record at
Uh-huh.
best.
That
There's not
seems
like a
pretty fair.
dominant like when the Chiefs and the Patriots were just rolling. They were
Hmm.
gonna beat people majority of the time. Even when
Yeah.
the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bills were all at their peak, they were still coming out. Everybody knew that the Chiefs were gonna win the majority of the time.
I think that's a really fair point. And one of the things that it definitely made it difficult to walk through and line this out when I sat down to actually do it, because I definitely, if I go, hey, on a neutral field, the team playing the full strength that they are, you tend to agree that we've got quite a few coin flip games, other than me using the strategy that we talked about a couple of weeks ago to go,
Yeah,
what if both teams play the way that they want to play?
yeah,
Then what happens? And I think that that's what I'm going to try to do going into this, is going, what if they both play at their ceiling? Where do I think this breaks out? And then,
yeah,
I can't come up with a better methodology than that, because it does feel like it's so tight.
yeah. It's kind of interesting, and I think we'll do it here in just a second because I do think it's interesting, especially in the AFC. But I think we just need to run down and compare the strengths and the weaknesses
Uh-huh.
because they all have a very glaring on both sides. It's not like in the NFC. I think is a little bit more stagnant because you've got the Rams and the Seahawks that are just better than everybody else. At least that's how I see it. I think the Eagles are right there. I know you don't like the Eagles, but the Eagles have won the Super Bowl last year, and they have shown year in year out to be either in the NFC Championship game or the divisional, or they're winning the division. They're playing ball whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
These other teams aren't necessarily doing that. I mean, like I would liken the Eagles to the Ravens, except the Ravens aren't there anymore. So now the Eagles are the
Yeah.
standalone.
Sure.
So looking at
That's
two,
very fair.
this is where, so look at you and I down here, right in the north or in the
Uh-huh.
NFC. Seattle and the Rams, and then so we're going to be flip flopped on those. Seattle and the Rams. I think it's a coin toss depending on the day. I think Seattle's defense could stymie anybody anytime they wanted to, but I think Darnold's a question. I think that the Rams can absolutely dominate anybody offensively, but man, they've been just so stagnant the last 2 or 3 weeks, and it felt like maybe the second half of last week they were coming around, but boy, it makes me nervous
It
just in
does.
general because it's kind of that Buffalo thing, right? Jekyll and Hyde, who's going to show up?
Yeah. No, we had kind of that joke for a while with Buffalo, because they were only playing the second half of games. And
Yeah.
then we finally got them to play a first half of the game, and then they didn't play the second half of the game. And,
Yeah.
you do have some of that, one of the, one of my top picks last week was the Rams, and we got to
Yeah.
halftime, and I was like, crap, this is not
Uh-huh.
this is not going well. And
I
then in the
almost
second
texted
half,
you
they
that.
did. They came alive, they stomped them, and you go, I wonder how much of that is Arizona just literally running out of gas, and how much of it was, hey, they got to halftime, they made some adjustments, and then maybe everything clicked. But when you have something like Stafford, and then he's got these weapons going into the playoffs where if everybody is doing what they're supposed to be doing, you have problems going every direction on the field, and you're leaving it up to a defense to try to figure out how to stop it. Don't know. Seattle's defense is good. I don't know if any of the rest of these guys have a defense that can stand up against the offense that the Rams are putting on the field. So that's where I kind of end up putting them in the one spot because I go, you got to stop them at some point. And I don't know that anybody but Seattle can.
Yeah, no, I kind of agree with that. I don't see where that's definitely the play, and I see why you've got them in the one hole. I think that's partly why I have Seattle in the one hole as well, because I tend to lean towards defenses in the playoffs. They
Yeah.
tend to cause problems. Very rarely do you see, and you will see it, the shootouts where offensives just put on crazy shows, but usually the defenses kind of come to play when it you see a lot of unders show up in the playoffs. So defenses are showing up, which is going to benefit teams, in the NFC like the Seahawks. The Eagles could be that team, but they just seem to. The Eagles actually have pretty good defense. They've got some
They
nice
do.
down linemen. Their defensive backs are solid. They, I don't know if they how well they match up with the Rams offense. I think they're probably the next team that could take them out. Definitely not the Bears. Definitely not the Packers or the Panthers. The Niners, man, that's just a familiarity thing in my book.
Yeah. That comes down to that both of them, the offenses are what they're using to drive the team. And so that one becomes kind of a coin flip because yeah, you've already played twice this year. You know exactly what the other guy tried to do both times, and you get to go in there with a game. It's the same thing with Seattle. You got all three of those teams coming out of the division where, hey, we've collectively played all of this time, the three of us together, and we know exactly what's going on here. So it's going to be very interesting to see how, if those teams end up kind of winning games and making it through when they start running into each other, what kind of lines get set.
3.5,
I mean, that's probably where you have to put it,
2.5,
to
three and
go,
a half.
like take your points and hope the team wins by 3.
AFC North style, baby.
Uh-huh.
So at the beginning of the season, if I told you that you would have ranked the Jacksonville Jaguars, who had the number 2 pick in the draft,
Huh?
as the number 1 team headed into the playoff as we get ready
Yeah,
to
it's
start on
chaotic,
Saturday.
right?
Could you
But
believe that? I mean,
they have um they've made me a lot of money. Realistically. Like I got in on them over indexing their spread early, and they've really, to a man, have just built week after week after week. And I'm looking here at Unpredictable, and it says that Jacksonville's defense going into week 17 was the 19th ranked defense. But I like what they do on defense also.
yeah.
I think that, their offense has really started to click. And whatever Cohen brought down there and went, hey, here's what we're going to do is working, and it's consistently working, and it's taking those stupid brain farts that Sunshine was having and have almost eliminated them, which then
Yes.
going into the playoffs makes me go, if he's not just going to randomly do dumb shit, then we're in a pretty good spot here.
Yeah.
And so for me, I like Houston's defense. I like Jacksonville's defense. And I think Jacksonville's offense is considerably better than
Yes.
most of the teams that I think have a good enough defense to support themselves. So they just kind of floated to the top for me. So,
I like that.
my numbers obviously, are rudimentary and skewed a little bit, when you start blowing out the spread, but they were far and away the top ranked team for all of the last 3 weeks when you talk about these 7, and I just went, "Okay, well then I guess we're just gonna roll with them."
Yeah, I think it's fair. I think you hit on a really good point with Jacksonville. The one thing that I've noticed, and I'm obviously all of us have started watching a little bit more of their games just because they become a
Right.
little bit more important
Yeah.
as we navigate down. And you're right, T Law is definitely taking care of the ball a little bit better. But where I think that shows up the most, and this is just me sitting here watching a game, is that I don't feel maybe their defense isn't ranked with the right whatever it is, Devoas
Mhm.
or impeccable rankings or whatever all the different rankings are. I think he's keeping his defense off the field, and so they're well rested. So when they're
That's a good
on the
point.
field, they're actually not tired. They're executing. They're flying around. It looks like they're flying around. They're tipping balls. They have legs under them. Their legs are fresh. And a lot of
Yeah.
that is because when we don't make stupid mistakes and go 3 and out and have to punt, our defense isn't on the field the whole game. And it makes
Yeah.
such a huge difference. Now, ranking wise, maybe they do give up some yards. Maybe it's a bend don't break type of thing. But honestly, they make the plays when they need to, and that happens when you have fresh legs. That's kinda
Yeah.
how I see it from a football
And when
perspective.
you get to play with the lead, you get to play a
Yeah,
different kind of defense. You get to take
absolutely.
more chances, you get to put pressure on people. You can play that bend don't break sort of defense because you can go, "We're up by 10 points." So
Yes.
if we tend to miss one, we're not down now. They just closed the gap. And now the offense is going to go back out there and have a nice long drive, and they're going to get us some points. And then we can go back out there and take another run at their quarterback and see if we can
Yeah,
turn him into a 3rd and long. And so, yeah, I that they end up jumping off the page, honestly, out of all 14 of them.
yeah,
When it comes
they're
down to it
pretty
for
good,
me,
but I would put them if they played the Rams, I think the Rams are 3.5 point favorites. If they play
probably
the Seahawks are probably 1.5 point favorites, and
that's probably
then after
fair.
that, I think the Jags got everybody else. I think the Jags' kryptonite is gonna be probably Denver,
Okay.
and I say that because if they go to Denver for the AFC Championship game, I can see Sean Payton and that Patrick Surtain-led defense making T-Law make stupid mistakes, and the weather's gonna be cold and shitty, and it's gonna be high altitude, and now I'm just predicting if they both make it that far, but because it has to run through Denver, that is how critical it is to get home field advantage.
You're definitely right
That
because they're
is the
Broncos will definitely be
difference.
favorites.
Yeah,
They're definitely going to be laying points against everybody unless they happen to play a really bad game against whoever wins from the Steelers and the Texans and somehow still kind of get through the game or something. But
yeah, yeah,
with the pedigree that they've put on the table so far this year, it is what it
yeah,
is. I just when I look at it, I go, look, I may be a little, biased towards Stafford and Nakua and what they
yeah,
seem to be able to do, where I go, yeah, maybe I would take them over Jacksonville, but I just go, when it comes down to it, I think I have to kind of put them ahead of everybody else because of the performance that they have had recently. And
yeah,
without just putting that to the side and going, I'm gonna take somebody else because I think that team's better. I end up with,
yeah.
putting them at the top.
Alright. Alright, quick game, and then we're gonna move on.
Perfect.
We're gonna go through the AFC. You got
Yep.
2 comments. I'm gonna drop 2, you drop 2. I'm gonna drop 2, you drop 2, okay?
Okay.
I'm gonna start on my side, you start on your side, so you go Denver down, I'll go Pittsburgh down. Here's where I'm going. Here's the example, okay? I'll kick it off.
Okay.
Pittsburgh can win it all because they have the only AFC quarterback that's won a Super Bowl, but they won't win it all because they just make too many damn mistakes and have too many injuries.
Okay. Fair enough.
What about
Denver,
you in Denver?
they will end up winning if their defense shines everybody. And when they lose, it will be because they just don't have enough firepower. I think Knicks will play a good game. I just don't think they'll have the skill players to get the ball across the end zone.
The Chargers can win it all because Herbert and Harbaugh are a good combination, and they could be here for years to come. They won't win it all because they have offensive line issues, and they still tend to make some dumb mistakes on third down.
The Steelers can win it all because the combination of Tomlin and Rodgers can outweigh everything. And they're not going to win it all because the defense just is not going to be able to do it for 4 games in a row.
The Bills can win it all because Josh Allen is Superman, and he finally doesn't have Mahomes and Lamar in his way. But the Bills will not win it all because he's not healthy.
Yeah, I'm kind of forced to do the same ones. Like I don't really have another reason, but I he definitely can win it all because he's that damn good, but him being banged up is eventually going to be his kryptonite.
Exactly. The Denver Broncos can win it all because of Sean Payton and their defense. If they don't win it all, it's mostly going to be because the naysayers were right about Bo Nix.
The Chargers win it all if Herbert ends up being what Josh Allen could be. And they're not gonna win it all because they don't really have the offensive horsepower to do it when it comes down to it.
The Texans are going to win it all because they're going to pound every quarterback into submission and allow almost nobody to score. But they can't win it all because I'm not sure they could score in a Texas whorehouse.
The Pats are going to win it all if they keep completing explosive plays. And they're not going to win it all if it turns out that Vrabel can't make the high leverage calls when it comes down to it.
I like it. The Jags are going to win it all if they can stay the course and play good defense and play, is just as we talked earlier, T-Law can limit mistakes. They've got the tools in place to execute. They're not going to win it all when they run into a situation where maybe the elements aren't right or somebody can make him press and fall back into bad habits.
Houston can win it all because that defense gives up, 3 touchdowns across 4 games. And they're not going to win it all because the offense just isn't where it needs it. They aren't going to be able to make the explosive plays that will make up for what their offense actually is.
And finally, the New England Patriots will win it all because America does not want them to. No, they can win it all because Drake May is the best quarterback of that class, and Vrabel is the right coach at the right time for what that team needs. They won't win it all if this Stephon Diggs thing is too big of a distraction and they cannot keep it controlled. It leaks into the locker room.
Fair enough. Jacksonville will win it all if the offense continues to manage turnovers. And they won't win it all if their defense ends up playing like the 19th best defense.
Truth. We won't run down the NFC. That took a little bit, but that's
Sure.
kind of a fun thing to do. Maybe we'll pounce through the NFC next week after we see who's been eliminated a little bit.
That sounds good because I had nothing for Carolina.
Well, we'll get them eliminated, and then we can do it next week.
Yeah. I was going to have to sit here silently while I thought up some other version of reality.
Well, hey, let's talk real quick then. Let's bounce into these games, man. We got 3 days of football. It's going to be amazing. We actually have an impressive 5 days of football from Thursday through Sunday, or Thursday through
Oh,
Monday.
yeah.
And then everything goes downhill from there because we're going to have just less and less as each week goes on. But starting off on Saturday at 4:30, we've got the Rams and Carolina. Now, these numbers are taken from Covers. Shout out to Covers. They make a nice graphic for us with wins and losses against the spread, all that cool stuff to look at. Carolina's 10.5-point favorites. In any world, are you taking Carolina?
I'm, I'm only not because of a belief. If I go back 2 weeks, I make the Rams 6 points better than Carolina on a neutral field. And they're
Okay.
traveling across the country. Anybody, like, mechanically, if you run the numbers, you have to take 10.5 points. I think legitimately this might be the same as that Arizona game where they give up a couple of points and they just break Carolina. Where are you landing with this?
So I, I'm on the Rams because if I'm going to have the Rams be one of the top two teams and Carolina be one of the bottom two teams, I think it's
Yeah.
legitimate that the Rams are probably going to do exactly what they did last week, where they might start off a little slow. Carolina might kind of put up a little bit of a fight, but I think they're going to come out and take care of business. I also think the Rams and McVay are going to remember it was just 6 weeks ago that they lost in Carolina, 31-28, and I don't think they're going to let that happen. I think they went over a little unprepared. I think that McVay is too good a coach to allow that to happen again. And I think while Carolina is growing and on the upswing, they're not there yet. They're not this team. And this is not going to be an early exit with a non-cover in LA. And that's my kind of my lean. I
Yeah.
hate the 10.5. And I may find some
No, yeah,
things later
it's
in the week as I study this that changes it because I hate laying that many points, but it's the biggest spread of the week. Usually when that happens, they cover in wild card week.
yeah. No, outside of a pool situation, I would definitely go sell points. Like, I'm not taking 10 and a
Mm-hmm.
half. I'd lay 16 and a half or 19 and a half, 20 and a half, and just
Yeah.
go the same thing that we talked about last week with Indiana and Bama, where I went, if you want to take Bama, take them on the money line. The same
Yeah.
way, if you're thinking about taking 10 and a half points with Carolina, I'd probably just figure out, see what the money line was and put a little bit less money on, I don't know, our pool's locked in at plus 429. I don't think there's realistically a world where the Rams end up winning by 7 or even 10. If you like the Rams, take a bigger number. If you like Carolina, just take them on the money line.
Yep. Nope. Fair. Probably the marquee matchup of the weekend, in my opinion, is going to be the Pittsburgh Houston game, just from a fun perspective. But man, if you are a football fan, seeing the Packers and the Bears play in the playoffs, I don't know if you can get better than
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. The only
Right
thing better would
now,
be if they were
covers have.
playing at Lambeau and it was
Yeah, I
snowing.
don't. I don't even know that. I mean, Soldier Field's pretty. I mean,
It is.
that's a historic place too, man.
But like Lambeau is like the quintessential NFL field.
Yes,
And if you could play in
true.
the snow in the playoffs, like that would just be just everybody would have to just stop and sit down and watch.
No, yeah, I'm gonna have to stop and sit down and watch anyway.
Well, for
Seven
sure.
o'clock on a Saturday night. It's gonna be
Uh huh.
amazing, right? The Bears and the
Yeah.
Packers. The Bears +1 at home. Listen, man, I'm taking the home dog. In wild card games, I play home dogs. That's just how it is. Now I don't know what some of the other pools I'm in have lined up at yet, but I can tell you that in this one with where covers is right now, if it was today, I would take the Bears at +1.
I am going to be on Green Bay. I think
Mm-hmm.
if I There's too many people that are too good at lining up the way that offenses and defenses line up against each other that look at this and just go, Green Bay is going to work this out to go Chicago, their first year, goes all the way through and beats their arch rival. And the whole, I just, it's not going to be a big play for me because I am pretty torn on it. But I think I'm going to end up being on the Green Bay
Yeah,
side.
low.
Yeah.
And you're probably right when you start talking about storylines. I mean, Chicago spent most of the season winning lucky close games at the
Yeah.
end. Can it happen again? I don't know. I just don't like home dogs because they have momentum. Ref calls tend to go their way.
Uh huh.
It's just that easy. It's 1 point, right? It's really a pick 'em game. But
Yeah. Yeah. Without a doubt. Yeah. Because you can't have a tie. So the 1 point, only gets you a push.
yeah. So leaning over, does that mean that Nate's taking the Jacksonville Jaguars with the home dog against the Buffalo Bills and Josh Allen? Yes,
Does
yes,
it
it
mean that?
does. Staying on the track, Jacksonville at home, +1, give me that. I just don't think Buffalo's putting together full games yet. It's hard to win in the playoffs against a sound football team when you're playing a half.
Yeah. As much as this is going to give me heartburn, this is going to be my biggest play of the week. I'm just going to lean on Jacksonville again. And I'm just going to trust that Buffalo is who we've watched this year and that Jacksonville is who we've watched this year. And especially, we locked in the Sandman pools +1.5. I'm assuming when we get to like our contest, it'll be something close to that. It doesn't look like it's really pushed back through the zero at all.
Yeah.
So this is gonna, I have Jacksonville somewhere in the 8 to 10 points better than Buffalo. So I'm going to have to hammer this and just trust that
Yeah.
I'm not going to have my entire
Trust it.
Sunday ruined by 12:30 Central Time.
Hopefully not. Hopefully not. You never know though. I think it's a home game for Jacksonville. I think they're gonna be fine. Eagles, Niners. This one is gonna give me heartburn because I'm probably gonna have to be on the Eagles for this when we actually take a look at the overall play because recency bias says San Francisco is not as strong as I thought. Philadelphia, I hate Philadelphia, but they have done enough to be 11-6. They're 5-3 at home. It's a home game. They're the defending champs. I can see them taking care of business against San Francisco here.
Well, I'm going to be on the other side. Each of the last 3 weeks have the gaps closing, but even going all the way through week 18, still makes San Francisco like a 1.5 point favorite over Philly on a neutral field. So if I'm going to get somewhere in the 4.5 or 5 points, I'm going to have to just again go. Don't think I'm being super biased against Philly and just take the points and let it fly.
Yeah. My numbers are telling me that I should be taking San Francisco in this, but I usually have my numbers are spot on with what the books are saying in almost every game except two, the Philly game and the Pittsburgh game. And there's usually 2 games or 3 games a week that my numbers just for some reason don't jive, and I'm hoping it's this one. Because sometimes you just gotta hope. Because
That's for
I just
sure.
don't see it. I
Hey,
just don't
you get a
see this one.
feeling, you go, hey, I'm gonna, you have to the playoffs, especially, you
Yeah,
have to go. I've watched all these games. Here's what here's what I'm gonna trust my thing, and you gotta just fire on it.
yep. Agreed. New England, Los Angeles Chargers. This will be interesting, right? Because New England, this is where we're gonna find out if the Diggs thing is a distraction or not. And if it's not a distraction, they might just completely smoke the Chargers at home. I find it hard to see Harbaugh and crew with a little bit of beat up O-line going up to New England and actually taking this game on a night. What are they going to probably retire Brady's jersey or something while they're at it? Do something to get the crowd all stirred up. I don't know. They retire his jersey, I think, once a season so that he can come back and wave at people and sign autographs. But no, this is going to be the Vrabel. He's going to have these guys fired up. Harbaugh is a great coach. I see no reason why he could lose this game. My number says New England's 4.8 favorites. This is one like you said, I believe half my numbers and I don't believe the other half. This is one I believe.
Yeah. Yeah. And we go back to 2 weeks ago. I only made New England about a half a point favorite. But the Chargers number has kind of tailed off these last 2 weeks. And it's been, games where you would hope that a team that's in this position was pushing to build themselves up for going into the playoffs because of the history of what they've had. So I'm kind of forced, as much as I hate laying 3.5 points, to go, this Chargers defense is susceptible to giant plays, as we saw in the Houston game, where they came right out the gate and just threw 2 bombs on them. So to me, I got to go the New England direction and go ahead and lay the points, as much as it's a little worrisome with a second-year quarterback going to the playoffs for his first time.
Well, and Diggs is expected to play, so that's going to help take the top off that defense.
Yeah.
I think that New England, I love their defensive back. Christian Gonzalez, I believe is his name. The guy is just super talented, and he'll pretty much take Quentin Johnson out of this thing. I do think that, to your point about the Chargers' number sloughing off a little bit, they did play Trey Lance last week the whole game, and he is terrible.
No, they did.
They could have done more to keep that momentum moving in the right direction, but Harbaugh actually felt that it was a little more important for Herbert to get that broken hand a second week.
He is probably exactly right about it. I just, when I look at it and go, even with that being the right decision of getting your guys more healthy, that you're now going into this not running full speed. And hey, maybe they've got a game plan. He can see something that goes on with New England's offense where he's going to be able to shut down the explosive plays, and he just stymies them. Vrabel makes a couple of mistakes. They end up, at least covering, maybe winning. But I think if both teams play the way that they want to play, New England wins by margin.
Yeah, agreed. The final game of the week, the Pittsburgh Steelers versus the Houston Texans. Pittsburgh's +3. Is this the final game for Aaron Rodgers' career? And can Aaron Rodgers cover the 3? We had kicker issues at Pittsburgh last week. I don't think Fairbairn's going to have that kind of issues. He's a pretty good kicker. Or it's Fairbairn, right? Fairbairn.
Yeah, something close to that.
Fairbairn.
I have a hard time with it.
Something like that. Fairbairn. But anyway, Boswell's going to get another chance. Tomlin's kept his job. Harbaugh lost his job. I didn't realize that was probably the deciding factor between both of them, who was going to keep their job and who was going to lose their job last week.
Yeah, that very well may have been the situation when it comes down to it. Like it was very interesting to just go, hey, we are gonna go ahead and move on from our. Look, I'd have more respect for the GM or the owner or whoever ultimately made the decision to come out and go, look, I was going to do this either way, when it comes down to it, because for a rookie kicker to miss an end of the game kick and then go, okay, and now we're going to get rid of our 18-year long coach is kind of crazy. But here's where we are. He's going to be No, but I think if you're going to make the argument that if he hits that kick that we can't fire him, then you're kind of out over your own skis there.
Yeah, I mean, if you really think about it, that kid was Ellis's age when Harbaugh was hired.
It's right, without a doubt. Yeah, like it's a crazy thing to see. So yeah, and again, if they were if they're going to keep Tomlin because he figured out a way to win that game, you should probably let him
Yeah, I
go
don't like that either.
coach somewhere else. Like if you think that it's down to that missed kick or maybe how they play in this game. If it's not a plan for here's what we want to do next year, then I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah. So, do you see Houston winning this by margin?
I'm torn. When I look at my spreads, I make Houston just a little bit, a point and a half better than them over the last 3 weeks. So, especially the Sandman contest's locked in at 3.5. Feel like I'm going to be forced to take the 3.5 after just watching what went on last week and just assume that Tomlin and Rodgers are going to have a plan to deal with this defense. And Pittsburgh's defense is adequate to deal with Houston's offense. So that's kind of where I end up landing with it. Not to mention that Pittsburgh hasn't lost on a Monday night since like I was born. I think like the early 90s. The early 90s was like the last time they lost. I was like 5 or 6 or something like that. The last time they lost on a Monday night. Now, obviously, playoffs, yada, yada, yada. But it's one of those things that, hey, when you give them a standalone night to focus on something, they tend to figure out a way to win that game. Here, they seem like they're overmatched. If you made me take something on the money line, I'm going to end up on Houston. But if we lock in at 3.5, I think I'm going to take my shot on Pittsburgh. What are you thinking for this last
Apparently,
one?
those sharps in Vegas don't care if they won on Monday nights.
No, they sure don't.
Yeah, I mean, you're getting money line points on them to win. What is the money line on that?
Yeah, we locked in at plus 148 for Pittsburgh. Not like a huge number.
Yeah, I'm seeing plus
Reasonable.
140 right now. You're getting plus money on a team that hasn't lost since the 90s? Come on.
Yeah.
That might be worth a look. Maybe some pizza money or something.
It definitely is something that crosses my mind, especially, if
Paulie Walnut
you have an inkling that you've got another, slight underdog that you like, and you can go, hey, maybe we a little bit, grab both of them, see if I can turn this into a big number. You just take a flyer.
Yeah, why not? Yeah. Well, Brandon, that's our show for the week, man. We've covered all the games. We've covered all the teams. We've covered all the college. No Survivor to cover, though I think next week we're talking about trying to have maybe one of the Survivor winners on and maybe seeing if we can't get 1 or 2 on from Sandman. So there's a little tease for next week. If we can get somebody to join us and tell us how they did their Survivor picks, I think it'd be interesting to listen to their strategy and their thoughts and all of that good stuff.
8 winners out of 633-ish made it to the end line. And the 3 guys that got bounced really got hosed. 2 of them was Cincinnati losing on that field goal, and one of them on Philly with Sirianni just straight up lying to everybody and going, I'm going to play my guys, and then just not. So like that was some devious shit when it came down to it. So, but the interesting thing was everybody had Minnesota, and about half of the people that ended up winning went with Minnesota and made it through. So it was a shot where it turned out that there was a decent favorite that everybody had available that could have just rode straight through to the end. Kind of a weird
awesome.
situation for this year.
It's crazy. Well, everybody, that's our show for the day. I'm Nate. He's Brandon. We're the St. Louis Syndicate, and we're happy you joined us. Keep watching us in the coming weeks as we wrap up football season and head into the off season, and we'll touch on baseball a little bit and maybe a little gambling podcast here or there just to keep everybody excited about what's happening in the Lou here in St. Louis.
Cheers.